So the one thing that fucked with my mind was the fact that he used to go in and out without being traced and without being noticed. The reason why he faked his death, he was just tired of going in and out. He wanted them to think that he's dead, so that when he goes out next time, he's forever free. So if you think I'm bullshitting you, here's the clip.
And the details that come out, every new detail is more jaw-dropping than the last. What do you make of this case?
But anyway, that's how long this guy has been. He's been in and out of jail prior to this. And the focus to me is quite fascinating, that it's focusing on the night that he escaped. Meanwhile, he'd been in and out of jail so many times. And the fascinating part was that he went back to jail to die. And obviously that was part of the plan, because if he didn't go back and die in jail, he would still be a fugitive. So he had to get back there to die to be free.
So what you're saying is that Thabo Bester was walking in and out of a maximum security prison without a care in the world, going to his residence in Hyde Park, going back to prison, I suppose, to show face.
Why are you sacrificing with babies? I'm gonna kill you for my erectile is not dysfunctional. Let's use our president, for example.
Maybe over 10,000 kilometers away from South Africa.
Conspiracy theorists. I can open the door for you to join the Illuminati. Good evening, everyone.
NippyCast.
Hola, hater, who's it? DJ Nipro here. Here's another episode of NippyCast. This is episode 57. We're going to call it a continuation of the justice system. Not only in South Africa. I'm not attacking South Africa's justice system. I'm just trying to holistically analyze all of them all over the world. So, well, I woke up this morning and got a message from a friend of mine. He was showing me a clip that was a bit weird because you know these clips nowadays, they come and go, and some of them are fascinating. It has to do with the current affairs in the country, which is arguably going to be the biggest story in the world over the next coming days, weeks, whatever months. So the justice system has an impact on almost all these stories, similar to the one that is blowing up now of Thabo Bester. So what I decided to do, I was like, no, let's not focus on this guy alone. Remember, crime has been there for many years. Many years. Because if you look at the history of crime, check the couple called Bonnie and Clyde, which are almost similar to these ones of Nandipa and Thabo Bester, like not really far off. It's just that these ones are the sophisticated version, baba. Don't forget, this is our sponsor, 6G Chili Beef Biltong, with a zest of cannabis. They've been sponsoring us since last year, so you can also support by buying their biltong. The information will be put up as we are talking on this podcast. Thank you for watching NippyCast, and thank you for your continued support over the years. Oh, not over the years. In fact, this is our birthday month, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 2 years ago. Yes, definitely. Yeah, so that's when NippyCast started. This episode is proudly sponsored by the cannabis-flavored 6G Chili Beef Biltong. Enjoy. Not for sale to persons under the age of 18. They sponsor us, so you can also support them so that they can continue sponsoring us. So, going back to the topic at hand. So I did some sort of a dig up, or is it dig up, or some sort of a look up. Going back to the past. So like I was saying, Bonnie and Clyde. Bonnie and Clyde was a couple that I think the whole America was looking for. At some stage, the year was around in the 1930s, I think late 1920s, 1930s. These people used to go around robbing banks everywhere. Rob bank, kill people, they didn't give a single fuck. A couple. If you think the one that you're seeing now, almost 100 years later, is new. No, Bonnie and Clyde was there. They were committing crime everywhere. It's just that back then there wasn't this type of crime where you'll be hacking into people's bank accounts or scamming them through Facebook or what was this boy doing in jail? Or opening fake companies and getting investors to go into Zoom. No, Bonnie and Clyde would walk into a bank and pull out the gun, shoot some shit, take the money, go to the next town, do that and do that and do that. And you can look up the story of Bonnie and Clyde on the internet. You just Google Bonnie and Clyde. People have made songs about them. People have made movies about them over the years. They are probably by far the most popular couple of crime all over the world. And then, now talking about them, in this case, let's say using the justice system in this, because I want us to drag the justice system, because if you check, it has been evolving all over the years. I mean, from back in the day, the justice was there even during the days of Jesus Christ. I mean, if you read the Bible, there was punishments. If somebody did something, there was a punishment. There was prisons. That was some sort of a justice system, right? So, of the past 100 years all over the world, I think it has been operating in slow motion. I mean, you can't have a couple like Bonnie and Clyde just going around every single town doing the same shit. Well, I think they even had pictures of them pasted all over, but people would fail to recognize them because they will have different identities, like they will change the hairstyle. Obviously, you wear something different. You change the car. It's difficult. Back then, there wasn't a cell phone to say, "Yeah, I found him at Woolworth. Bonnie was buying juice." No, it wasn't that simple. So maybe the justice system was slow because of technology at that time. Well, which is obvious. We wouldn't blame them. But eventually, they got a tip off somewhere after. I think they robbed a bank or something, and then they slept off at some farm, and in the morning, the cops were waiting for them at some highway, ready to kill them. That one, it was not about to go to say, "Oh, we're going to court. We're going to..." The justice system then was like, "Hi, no, this one's, hey, we're heartful. Get rid of these people." So they shot them, they killed them. Everybody was happy, by the way. The whole town threw a party. When they returned back to town with the bodies, they were fucking happy. Well, the funny part is, some people were sad. Do you know why? Some people are fans of criminals. So some criminals even today get, what's this? They get fan mail. Like from fans. In fact, my uncle sent me a description of this illness. I don't know if it's an illness or a disorder. Yesterday, there's a word, man, it keeps coming to me. I'll put it up there upon broadcast. That word literally describes the fact that there is females out there who would rather have a man who is a criminal than a man who's innocent. I even asked some of my female friends that I was chilling with the one time, or guys, would you rather date a guy in prison or marry him? They're like, yes, if he's got money. I'm like, yo, you fucking gold diggers. There's a word for it, man. Some people have that. So you wouldn't understand why a chick who's well educated is hanging with the thug. And there's this thing, like, you will never get it. Like, they wouldn't go after like a nerd, because the nerd is boring. He's not going to commit some crime anytime soon. He's going to follow the rules. No, they want that drama part of life. There is a word. It keeps coming to mind. But it's a difficult word. It's the first time I bumped into it yesterday. I'll show it up on broadcast, like I'm promising. Well, the justice system of that time, I wouldn't judge it, because I don't think it was as advanced, but they tried. They ended up just saying, no, let's shoot these motherfuckers. Let's kill them. They killed Bonnie and Clyde, I think around 1934. Somewhere around there, early 30s. This is almost 100 years ago, right? 90-something years, to be precise. And then another justice gone right but wrong. Not right but wrong, but this one, I don't know how to put it. Justice would put people in prison, and prisons are supposed to keep them there, right? Now, when they escape, it's not make sure. We can't necessarily say we are blaming the justice system. Because on the previous podcast, I was saying the justice system from the beginning of the court cases and everything, it was not fair at all. So that's why I'm saying this is part 2. We're looking beyond being sentenced to prison. So if somebody escapes there, you can't necessarily blame them alone. But obviously, they need to be working hand in hand with this correctional services, high and low. There is a case of a prison that is in an island next to San Francisco by the west of America. It's called Alcatraz. Alcatraz is probably the most by far difficult prison to escape from. That one, but there's a group of guys, I think it was 3 guys, Clarence, John, and Frank. I forgot their surnames, I mean. They pulled it off. The year was 1962. They pulled it off proper, and this is how they did it. Obviously, they got arrested. I don't remember what type of crimes. I've seen a documentary on Netflix about it. I don't remember exactly what type of crimes they did, but they pulled it off. So they got taken to this island. Actually, Alcatraz is more like Guantanamo Bay. Think about it like that. Today's Guantanamo Bay. I don't know if it's still there or discontinued, but Guantanamo Bay was specifically designed for terrorists by the Americans. Recently, I think it was during the time of George W. Bush or whatever. I don't know if Obama got rid of it, but that was another type of prison altogether. So Alcatraz was similar to that. It's an island, like I said, on the western side of America, next to San Francisco. So there's some few islands there. So these guys, what they did is, you've seen movies like this before. It was based on that Alcatraz escape of 1962. So they literally took some material. When you're in prison, you get jobs, like you learn things. You do, what you call this, carpentry, or you go there and you study things. I mean, remember, it's a correctional services at the end of the day. So they took some material that they were working with. I don't know if it's some sort of it's not a plastic, it's something similar, plasticish but rubbery, So they made like a fake head out of that, and then they put some hair on it. I don't know whose hair they were using. Maybe they cut the hair, because this plan doesn't happen overnight, guys. Don't think you'll go to prison and escape overnight. No fucking ways. The people who escape well in prison are the ones who plan it very, very, very well. So they did that. They duplicated their faces, which is not different from this one who got a dead body. So duplicated their faces, whatever. So now the difference back then in 1964, 1962, 1963, something, let's say in the 60s, the difference then, better then and today, is that warders had to walk around the cells in the evening to check if these guys are still there, or just to check, not if they're still there. They're locked up. There's no way they're going to leave the cell, right? According to the theory of escaping in prison. You're not wrong. So what they did, they would dig a hole. They took out the toilet from the back under the sink, dug a hole to the piping system. That obviously the pipe goes out. So that project went on and on and on. They'll go in, they leave their heads in the thing. When the water passes, they see a body sleeping, and then the head is facing that way, And then they come back and sleep for real. In the morning, they wake up, have a normal day. In the evening is a project, same thing. Dig. They did the same thing, like they planned it properly. And then eventually one day came. I don't know how they got the boat. I watched this documentary almost like 6-7 years ago. I think so. I don't remember exactly how they got the boat, because it's in an island. So they jumped over into the water. I think they created a boat out of some sort of a tent. These people were creative. They managed to escape basically all the way to the shore. Now on land on the other side. Think of escaping from Prison Break, by the way. I'm sorry, not Prison Break. Sorry, Robben Island prison. Yeah, Prison Break is almost similar, but it's not in an island, which is like, obviously it's fiction. But that's how difficult it was for them back then. And people were saying, no, there's no way they could make it out of this cold ocean. They probably died in there. Apparently those people escaped, and they were not found. No dead bodies were found even today. Obviously, they're probably dead now, man. This 2023. When this thing happened, when? In 1962. How many years was this back? Let's calculate. About 50 years ago. How old were they? This episode is proudly sponsored by the cannabis-flavored 6G chili beef biltong. Enjoy. Not for sale to persons under the age of 18. If they're still alive, they're probably those old madalas telling kids stories under the tree, and then the kids don't believe them. But they did it. Well, the justice system there didn't fail at all. The prison system failed because they only discovered in the morning that these guys are gone. What else could you do if you see a guy sleeping and you think it's him? Obviously, under the sheets, they put pillows. You will never, a person who's sleeping, you can't expect them to say, hey, every minute or every hour when you pass, say, hey, are you sleeping? Really, human instincts also kick in as well for you as a human to say, let me not be an ass about this. Let me just walk past. As long as I see the fucking body sleeping, that's a prison order. So the prison at that time, they never thought anybody could escape, but they did it. That's Clarence, John, and Frank, runabout there. They are, the top 10 of best escaping in prison, whatever you call it, in our lifetime. So the justice system there, I don't know. What do you say? You can have your say under the comment section. Now, there is another guy, 10 years later. His name is D.B. Cooper. D.B. Cooper hijacked a plane in the air, jumped off, and was never found till today. Who do you blame? I forgot where the plane was going to. If you remember, actually talking about even this justice system in prisons. If you remember on Prison Break, there was a guy who used to claim that is D.B. Cooper. So they were mimicking the original D.B. Cooper who committed that crime in 1971. Hijacked the fucking plane, left it, jumped out, was never found. And imagine 1971, it was so difficult to have even some sort of a what do you call this thing? GPS GPS, what do you call? GPS coordinates on trackers. Yeah, trackers. Let's say if there's a box of notes or bag of notes, nowadays they put trackers on it so that they will know where you're driving with this shit too. Back then, never found till today. Who do you blame? The police or the justice system? I don't know. You can have your say on that one. So this is what I'm just going through the biggest crimes here. Some of the things were solved, some of them were not solved. And you can't blame everybody because some of these people live amongst us. If you check now, they like in the late 70s and early 80s and late 80s, all the way to early 90s. There's a guy called Jeff Dahmer. Jeff Dahmer was another type of criminal now. That one, actually, that docu was trending last year on Netflix. I think I checked it out last year. They even have a series on it. They have a documentary and a series on it. Jeff Dahmer is a gay guy from America. I forgot which city it was. I think it was around Chicago somewhere. I'm not sure. I don't remember exactly. I watched this thing last year. You can memorize every single thing. Things we watch nowadays on social media. Our brain is getting full. Our hard drive is getting full from nonsense. So Jeff Dahmer would take people from nightclubs, go to his home or rented apartment, rape them, mutilate them, and eat them, or put them in a tank and dissolve their bodies. He did this for a good 15 years. He got away with a whole lot of bullshit. So even some neighbor of his, black woman, used to complain about him or he's strange. And then the cops were like, you've just been paranoid. And at that time, I think Jeff Dahmer was just was actually trading on white privilege. At that time, a black woman complaining about a white guy, white police will never give you time of day. Never. Not in America. Not in the 80s, dude. Forget about it. Even today. So Jeff Dahmer, eventually, you just go watch the thing. I can't summarize all the film. I watched the thing, the Netflix series. How many episodes is that? Like 12 episodes or so. You just go watch it. You'll see the justice system failed a few times because at some stage he was arrested and he came out. Continued doing the same shit, murdering people, and there it failed. It failed hectically. Eventually, then in the early 90s, they realized, no, man, this is the guy. This guy has been doing this shit forever. Then they caught him, sentenced him to the state he was in. Apparently, didn't have life. It didn't have death penalty, just like South Africa. So he was lucky. He was in prison and he was not going to die. He was not going to be put on death row. But somebody in prison, or if you haven't watched the series, am I going to kill it for you? Okay. Let me not kill it for you if you're still going to watch it. But those who watched it know what happened to Jeff Dem at the end of the day. It was not the justice system that helped the people, all the victims of Jeff Dahmer. It was an act of God. And then still, in the early 90s, right, around 1993, there was a guy called Pablo Escobar, the biggest drug cartel owner in the world at that time in Colombia. Pablo Escobar, the justice system wouldn't work on him because he was richer than the country and the president. At some stage, they wanted to arrest him. They wanted to call the Americans to come and help them. Imagine Colombia calling America to come and help them arrest the other guy. Because the country doesn't have enough resources. Pablo Escobar was bigger than the government. So he was like, okay, no, you want to arrest me? Sharp. You're blaming me for all this drug distribution and all drug crimes of the world. By the way, even drugs of today that you're consuming are still coming from Pablo Escobar's network in the Colombia space. They just travel through Brazil, and here in Africa, the Nigerians come in. You know the story. But other countries don't take shit, like Japan. They will kill you immediately. They don't have bicycle. So most of the drugs in the world, like even the ones in America in the streets, crack cocaine, most of them are manufactured still out on the offspring of that Pablo Escobar cartel, which is still arguably making money. But Pablo, what happened to him? The justice system of Colombia, or the justice system, or should I say, of the world now, because here they ask for international help, especially from the Americans. I think they ended up just going to, he said, no, don't arrest me in your prison. He chose to be arrested at his house. He says, let's call it house arrest. I mean, his house was so big enough that it was like almost the size of like a resort. So you can just chill there and not go out. And then there was reports that he's going out, he's going to check out his mother, I don't remember exactly why is that one, probably a decade ago. It was in a form of a reality movie, or what you call reality movie based on real story type of vibe. What do you call those things? Reality, whatever. Yeah, you know them, those ones. So they ended up ganging up on him. They were tired because he was still stubborn after he said he's going to go for house arrest. And then they killed him. In this case, the justice was to get rid of him. This one is similar to Bonnie and Clyde now. They were hot for footsack. No, this guy is trailing us blind. They killed him, So, and then obviously with the drug cartels what I've picked up over the years, most of them, when you kill the previous boss, an offspring pops up from somewhere. There's always a second in charge. So you're never going to get rid of them. They're like terrorists. When you kill the highest one, there's always the one who will come and finish the job, or continue with whatever the organization was doing. Remember, they're more well organized. They're more organized than government infrastructures. Some of them, by the way, these drug cartels, like criminal syndicates, they are very, very well organized. If you're not aware. They're not stupid. They don't just wake up and say, we're going to... No. They don't do it like that. That's Pablo Escobar. So that is where in the 90s, right? Early 90s. Now, going to the mid-90s, here in South Africa, there was a guy called Colin Chauke. Colin Chauke, I'll put up his crimes now. They are countless. Rape. There's rape and... Is there rape? I don't remember exactly, but there was countless crimes. Countless counts of crimes. And then they eventually arrested him, and I think his health deteriorated. He ended up dying in hospital. The justice system did do its job, because sometimes they'll be looking for him. It was a big thing in the country that time. I remember it was all over the news. If you don't know Colin Chauke and you were there in the 90s, then you don't know shit about the biggest criminal of the 90s in South Africa. It was that guy. I'll put up all the criminal charges. There are too many. We won't finish this podcast. My battery might run out and we're going through load shedding. So yeah, that was in the 90s. So now justice, is justice system, did it work? Him dying in the hospital bed was an act of God. Sometimes God does justice, or you're going to call it karma. That's Chuck. That's in the mid-90s. Now, fast forward to the mid-2000s, let's say 2005, 6, there was another one from Mozambique called Ananias Mate. Hey, that one used to escape for days. The justice system would fail us by not putting him in a prison that you can't escape, but apparently even in the maximum prisons. I don't know if apparently one time he escaped using Vaseline. He put Vaseline on all over his body and then he went through the bars. I don't know what body size it should be to pull that shit off, but that is one of the escape methods that he used. I don't remember how many times, but I remember the Minister of Correctional Services at that time, or should I say the minister, whatever the boss of Correctional Services was on the Balfour. He would go on TV and scream and say, "Yeah, and his mother is an animal." The funny part is with these criminals, they always have a weak spot. They always go back to something that we know of about their life. Like, for example, he apparently would go to visit his girlfriend somewhere, I think in Tembisa or some shit like that. And they will just wait by the girlfriend's house. Even if he goes at night or in the dark or in disguise, whatever. They always have a weak spot. They always go to... They're smart enough to pull off a prison break, but you always go... That one I don't get. That's Ananias Mate. You can also read up on him. I'll probably try to get all the charges all the crimes that he committed. Whatever. Put them up there up on broadcast. Oh, now that is 2005, somewhere there. Let's cross over to a decade again later. Another drug cartel, which is 2015, 16, 17, 18, somewhere there now, just recently. There's a guy called El Chapo. El Chapo, similar to Pablo Escobar, I think is from Mexico. In fact, El Chapo is a copy and paste of Pablo Escobar. He was arrested. The justice system of Mexico arrested him. Wow, this guy, while he's in prison, he bought a farm near the prison somewhere. I don't know where, but like how far it was, but somewhere near the prison. Do you know what he did? He dug a hole from the farm that he bought. Remember, he's doing this shit in prison. These people, if you think they don't communicate with the outside world from prison, you're going to be very naive to think so. They've got so much power, they can run shit from inside. They still run their businesses from there. We've seen this shit going on, Now, they dug a hole from that side. They dug. Remember, this project takes a while. I think almost a year. Digging. Think of a mine. Digging. And obviously, they've got a blueprint of the prison. I forgot the name of the prison was in. And then they dug all the way up to his prison cell. Somewhere, I don't know how they pulled it off. They're similar to the story of Clarence, John, and Frank at the Alcatraz prison. I think some of these criminals they learn from each other, because a similar story where he dug from his side, he just removed the toilet from the other side, and then the hole was there to walk out and then get into the tunnel. In the tunnel now, remember that place is a bit far where the farm is that he bought. So they were using a motorbike. Think of a scooter. Think of a delivery scooter, that small one. Yeah, so they drove it all the way until the farm came out on the other side. The prison only realized later, hooray, this nigga is gone. But with El Chapo's case, I think he was influencing some of the warders. Remember when you've got too much money like water? El Chapo is the type of a guy who owns a cartel whereby, those killers, they will just kill you. If you're a warden and you're trying to be smart, they'll tell you, hey, I know where your family stays. Tonight I'm going. Don't play dumb here. You'll just tell them in the morning. I'll be very, very far. So he's that type of powerful guy. I suspect it was easy like that to to pull it off, And then that's El Chapo. You can look it up. All these people, if you think I'm making this shit up, go look it up in your. Go do your research. In fact, one thing I hate about people who just watch podcasts and all these stories online and take it as if it's cast in stone and don't do their own research and correct us if we are wrong. Like you can say today, I don't have a fact checker, but I've done some research to avoid talking hogwash or bullshit, right? So if don't just believe what I'm saying, go look it up. Go look it up. I hate it when people say, "Yeah, but I did." Go look it up. Your phone is so smart. It has internet. You're always on Facebook. Go at least just Google some shit and fact check as well yourself if you think I'm making this shit up. That's El Chapo. I think this incident happened around 2019, just recently. Using and now crossing over to the current one. Hey, Thabo Bester. The trail starts somewhere, or should I say, the history starts somewhere when I was young. 2004 somewhere, all the way coming up, becoming a Facebook rapist, kept conning people. Stories keep coming now, high and low, different stories. Some of them we don't know if they are real or not. Some of them are far-fetched. Like the one that made me do a continuation of this, the justice system continuation part 2 of NippyCast is because of the information I received this morning, which will blow your fucking mind roundabout now. With El Chapo, did we conclude that if the justice worked or not? It did work because they rearrested him. I think he's still in prison now, if I'm not mistaken. You can correct me. I didn't go that far on my research. So there, congratulations, justice system. Now, on this Thabo Bester one, no, justice system, you look like an idiot. In fact, 2 days ago, I was watching something at the parliament. Ronald is the Minister of Correctional Services, Ronald Lamola. So they asked him, don't you think the problem in prisons whereby we can't monitor every single thing is because our prisons are overcrowded? He said, yeah, prisons all over the world are overcrowded. I'm like, dude, that's not an answer. That's not an excuse. Because he says they can't keep up with the number of people who have been arrested versus the number of prisons they can build. That's why they will outsource these things to some companies like that GS, whatever, where Thabo Bester was at. So this thing, it's like you are trying to play catch up with criminals. You don't have enough prisons. Now the criminals keep going up at the same rate as the population. Especially in South Africa, poverty and everything, the criminals are popping up from everywhere, and even foreign nationals coming undocumented, doing whatever the fuck they want. So we don't have, it's difficult for them to keep up, but they are well aware of this. They just have a lot of red tape that doesn't allow them to build prisons as if they're building RTPs. Do you get what I'm saying? Because it's the sad reality. So overpopulation is all over the world, according to him. But I don't think that's a justification of why we can't monitor all these prisoners. I mean, how the hell do you have Thabo Bester going in and out of prison and unaccounted for? Well, that one, the story. I'm not gonna dwell on it that much. But the one thing that I think we should close by now is a private investigator who has been following this boy since 2004 somewhere there. His first type of crimes at high school, conning people, all the way to his criminal career, basically. The guy's name is Andres Neyman. I'm gonna play you a clip from him who has been interviewed on Newsroom Africa. He's actually an e-block watch founder. These are guys who who feed investigative journalists with information. He's a PI, which is a private investigator. It's a guy who's got a lot of formidable history in terms of investigations. For many years, he collects his data on par, way beyond than most of the people that you've relied on in the justice or the police system to solve crimes. And I don't understand, because he also says he doesn't understand why the police don't come to him for evidence. He's got all the evidence, but they just want to go and restart their own, where somebody will come and bribe them and then they leave the jail. So one thing that perplexed me this morning when I was watching this clip before I recorded this podcast was the fact that Bester literally used to go in and out of prison as he pleases, but he wanted to be free. So obviously we think he's in jail. He has enhanced his looks. Obviously, blow dry, whatever, his hair, maybe complexion, yana, whatever. Grown older, because compared to the last time we saw him being a Facebook rapist, whatever type of crimes he did. And then he has been going inside the prison and outside the prison. Before he faked his death. He was doing that as he pleases. And I had another clip from another guy who was anonymous from, I think, an SABC News, whatever. He was telling the news guys that Thabo used to get treated like a president there. He used to get everything, every fucking thing that he wanted. I mean, this guy was so free to an extent where after faking his death, like I told you earlier on, they've got a weak spot where they keep going back to the girlfriend and it still continues staying. Where are you going to find them if you think, yeah, he's going to go back to the girlfriend if we knew he escaped? He was seen in Woolworth Center buying juice at Woolworth with his girlfriend. The same place that he was committing all the other crimes from, where he was luring women in hotels, raping them, some stage even killed some, and all of that. You know the stories. I don't want to go into that. So the one thing that fucked with my mind was the fact that he used to go in and out without being traced and without being noticed. The reason why he faked his death, he was just tired of going in and out. He wanted them to think that he's dead, so that when he goes out next time, he's forever free. So if you think I'm bullshitting you, here's the clip.
And the details that come out, every new detail is more jaw-dropping than the last. What do you make of this case?
But anyway, that's how long this guy has been. He's been in and out of jail prior to this. And the focus to me is quite fascinating, that it's focusing on the night that he escaped. Meanwhile, he'd been in and out of jail so many times. And the fascinating part was that he went back to jail to die. And obviously that was part of the plan, because if he didn't go back and die in jail, he would still be a fugitive. So he had to get back there to die to be free. You know what I mean?
I do.
Understand that?
I do, unfortunately. I'm sorry, I'm trying to pick my jaw up from the ground. So what you're saying is that Thabo Bester was walking in and out of a maximum security prison without a care in the world, going to his residence in Hyde Park, going back to prison, I suppose, to show face.
You see, there we go. That's the clip. That's just a short version of it. I'll put up the access to the full broadcast of Newsroom Africa under description. Otherwise, that's it. NippyCast, NippyCast, episode 57, Justice System, part 2. This episode is proudly sponsored by the cannabis-flavored 6G chili beef biltong. Enjoy. Not for sale to persons under the age of 18. And another thing that maybe people are not aware of, why most of this bullshit happens in all these correctional services and even the police stations and all this corruption, arresting and not arresting the right people and focusing on the wrong people, is because the officials are underpaid. They're willing to take the bribe from the prisoner and let him out and go arrest a guy who doesn't have money, who stole bread from a shop. We won't even bribe them anything, or leave a criminal passing by going to and fro prison on the road and focus on the guy who's just driving to church because they want cold drink. They are all fucking underpaid. That's the problem. The whole chain is fucked. So most of these guys are doing it because of the money. I hope there will be no part 3, because we don't want to see any more of these types of crimes in the country. Thank you for watching. Don't forget, we are sponsored by 6G Biltong. Chovicho.
Why are you sacrificing with basis? I'm gonna kill you for My erectile is not dysfunctional. Let's use our president, for example.
Are you over 10,000 kilometers away from South Africa?
Conspiracy theorists. I can open the door for you to join the Illuminati.
Good evening, everyone.
Oh, no.